Hi, hey everyone. This is Sarah Noel Block, CEO and Head of Marketing Strategy for Tiny Marketing. And this is our weekly show where we give you actionable advice that you can implement today. This week we have special guest, Queen of Social Media, Twitter fan, and my fellow Orange Squad member, Dhariana Lozano. And I am going to add her to the screen right now. Hey girl.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good.
I am excited about this topic. I've gotten a lot of good feedback this week about it. And today, why don't you tell us, what are we learning?
Awesome. So today we are going to learn about launching on social media marketing. So if you have a product or a service that's new, your audience hasn't heard about, we're going to walk you through how to make a launch successful.
Yes. And can you just introduce yourself real quick to the audience?
Sure. I'm Dhariana Lozano. I am a social media consultant based in New York City, and I just talk about all things social media. I'm obsessed with social media. I've been doing this for about 10 years now. And I've worked with businesses that are just starting to big corporations. So, and everything in between. So I've dealt with a lot of different companies and experience here.
Yes. Okay. So let's start with the very beginning. How do you
Yes.
create a launch goal?
Right. So I work backwards. That's like with anything. I
Yeah.
like to work backwards. So I like to figure out where you want to be and decipher everything in between from there. So how do you even set a goal?
Mm-hmm.
If you've launched before, you can set a number based on what that was. So if you need a certain number of sales, or maybe you want to hit a revenue goal. So maybe you want to make $20,000 from how many sales would you have to get to make that number? So
Mm-hmm.
start there. If you haven't done it before, just pick a number that you feel comfortable with. Sometimes we don't know, and that's
Yeah.
okay. I think with social media, when you first do something, you're not going to know what the results are, right? And I think people kind of get caught up in that, but your first launch is kind of a test. And
Yeah.
so it's always like, what's going to happen? So just pick a number, and it's okay if it's a crazy number. That's probably even better because you work harder to get there. But pick a number and just go from there. So again, if you want a certain amount of downloads or a monetary number, those are two basic places to start.
Okay. So you start with this number in mind, downloads or a
Yes.
target, and then how do you reverse engineer that to plan for social media?
Yes. So I like to go in stages. I figure, most of the time we have to educate our consumers about what's happening. So you let them know that an offer is coming, then you educate them on what that might be, and then you actually do your launch. So there's stages. And the way you create the content is basically what I just mentioned. You let people know what's happening, then you give them a little taste of what's coming or educate them, and then you kind of see where you are. Are you halfway to your goal? Are you a quarter of the way? Does that mean you have to show up more? If you're not where you think you should be, then that's time to ramp things up. If you're on track, just go with what you're doing already. And that's kind of how you figure out what kind of content to create. And the content that you want to create is up to you, right? So if you're great on video, go ahead and create video content tutorials, or, give them a little sneak peek. If you're like launching a membership, you can give them a sneak peek of what the membership looks like in the back end. There's just so many different ways to go.
Okay. So it sounds like you would start off with some sort of teaser. Something is happening.
Something's brewing. Yeah, you have to
Yeah,
build that buzz.
and then just like with regular content marketing, you begin educating them on that. So
Yeah.
it's something like whatever product or service you're launching, it would be the problem that you're solving. You start to
Yes.
educate people on how to solve their problem to engage with them on that topic.
Yeah.
And then do a sneak peek at what you're actually creating.
Yes. And then that final week, just sell, 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 sell.
Okay. So on the sell, how do you create engaging social media posts that are also meant to sell?
Right. So you've kind of already warmed up your audience, right? So they know something's coming. You've gotten them excited. You're letting them know you're going to solve this big problem for them. So the end just becomes more about educating, not about the general topic, but more about what your offer is. So what they're going to get, what results they might see at the end, testimonials of people that maybe have used your product or gone through your service before. You're just showing them all the benefits and all the good stuff that they're going to get once they join you.
Yeah, I can see that same concept working, even if it's not a new launch. If you have your own service and you've been doing it for a while, but you want to get new leads in, fresh leads in, you could probably do this even like good service when you're already doing it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's repeatable. And the great thing about repeating the launch process is that you can pick and choose, like, okay, maybe videos didn't work last time, so this time I'll try to warm them up with like a download, or, maybe give them a little piece of my program before they actually purchase the whole thing. So I love when you can repeat something, because you really just start to hone in on those things that work, and that's what makes you scale your product or service.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I love about marketing that it's all about testing, tweaking, and eventually you find what's working and it's easy to repeat.
Yeah, and once you hit that stride, like it's a numbers game. It just becomes like, okay, how much money do I want to make? Okay, so I know that my sales page converts at this number, so I need to get like 500 more people this time. And that's when it gets really fun.
Yes. Yeah. You know your conversion rate eventually as you start to actually convert people.
Yes, I know. And I know it can get really frustrating because people, again, if you're doing this for the first time, you're just not going to have these numbers, but that's totally fine. That's why you launch and then you repeat it and then you repeat it.
Yeah. And you can always start with assuming an average conversion rate.
Right.
Like, I would say 2% is probably
2%.
an average conversion rate. So
that's the same one that I use.
Yeah, you can start there. Even if you don't know what your exact conversion rate is, start with the average and go with your revenue goal, and then reverse engineer it from there.
Yeah, and see how it's pacing. And that's my favorite part, because if things are slow, you can always post more or post less if you're seeing like your engagement is going down or whatever that might be, or you're losing people. You can always tweak things as you go along.
Yeah, so it's important to always be looking at your analytics, and especially during a launch.
Yes.
To see, do I need to tweak this mid-campaign? Is this not working?
Yes. And that can be really stressful, but it's totally fine to pivot and change things. Or if you're getting a question that maybe you didn't think about, create content around that. So you'll get little hints about what to do as you're going through your launch. So you can create those general pieces of content, but you'll see that your audience is going to let you know what information they need.
That is a really good point. I am a huge fan of using like frequently asked question pages to address the friction points during the selling process. Like someone is pushing back on a sale for a reason, use the friction that they're seeing, the question they have in a frequently asked questions pages, and that those questions can be converted to social media posts, to email, to a nurture campaign. There's a lot of things you can do with that.
Yeah. And sometimes the simple things are what works the best. And I think sometimes we get caught up in like making things more complicated for ourselves.
Yeah.
It happens to everyone, right? But sometimes we have to step back and just really like simplify things. And if people are asking you questions, answer them.
Yeah, completely agree with you. And it's a way to address the problem before you lose a sale.
Absolutely.
So how often do you recommend posting on, let's say, well, you're a big Twitter fan. Let's start with Twitter. How often should you be posting there?
Okay, so Twitter, because Twitter moves so quickly, you can get away with posting a lot. So if you're posting several times a day, you can even just once a day, I think is doable and minimum, or not, during a launch minimum, right? But you can also do things like retweet yourself, which people don't, not that they don't, it almost feels like you're tooting your own horn, but that's okay. If something's working, if something's working, you can repeat it, especially on a network like Twitter. again, it's fast paced, tweets come out all the time. If you're on something like Instagram, then, feed posts, sometimes we see that with our clients, if we post every single day, we actually start to see engagement go down and it hurts
Oh,
us.
that's good to know.
Yeah. And every account is different, right? So some accounts will benefit from that and some won't. And this goes back to our point of check your analytics while you're launching to see what's going on.
Yeah. And that's a good point, because you hear the rule of thumb, like at least my research shows like Twitter at least once a day is good.
Right.
LinkedIn once a week is sufficient.
Yeah.
And Instagram, I've read, is once per day, but that's good to know.
It doesn't. Yeah, for sure. We have a client, and this is like my favorite story to tell. So I'm sure people have heard it. If you follow me, you've heard it over and over. We had a client who only wanted to post once a week, and we were like, well, minimum I would do like 2 or 3 times. But his account has seen growth week after week, even with just 1 post a week. So it really just depends on your audience. So test and pay attention to what's coming in and the analytics that you're getting, and then adjust to that. With that said, Instagram stories, you can post several times a day and you're fine.
Yeah, that's true. I'm on stories a lot.
Yeah.
Let's look at Sarah's question real fast. She asked if we could walk through this process with a fictional product or service.
Okay, great. So if I should we pick a product or a service?
Yeah, let's talk about a coaching launch.
Okay, great. I just went through this, so
I know, that's why I picked that.
So when I do a launch, I basically let's talk about timeline as well. I think when you think about the timeline to promote something, a movie, for example, we hear about it about a year before it actually hits the theaters, right? So the more time, the better. But if you want to put a timeline on it, I would say 4 to 6 weeks for launching. So you have the opportunity to, again, tease, I'm working on something's coming up. Then I would go into educating around the topic that my coaching program is going to solve for you. So for me, that's social media strategy. And if you look at my content, it's a lot about strategy, why you should be using strategy, the benefits of using social media strategy. I answer strategy questions. Then I let you know that this program is coming. So I build buzz around that. I don't give away too much of the details yet, but I'll let you know it's coming and that I'm going to solve your strategy problems for you, because I know that, keeping consistent is a problem, or content is driving you nuts. And then I take the last week to really promote it. Like, okay, the doors are open. You can enroll. Here's how you enroll. These are the modules. So I create content around that, around what the actual pieces are, what you'll be learning, the benefits. I'll talk about, I'll give testimonials. So that's I hope that kind of lays it out for you in a way that makes sense.
Let me recap it then.
Yes.
So I can make sure I got it. So
yes.
You begin the social media campaign 4 to 6 weeks before the launch.
Yes.
And you start off with a teaser.
Mm-hmm.
And then over those weeks, you're providing education on the problem that you're solving.
Yeah.
And then in the final week before the launch, you do like a cart sequence where,
yes.
Hey, it's coming. It's opening up in 4 days.
Yes.
Here's your promo code, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there a general rule of how many posts should be included within this launch?
I try to show up almost every day, and that can change, right? So one day can be a feed post, and then the next day I'll do a series of Instagram stories. Mm-hmm. So I try to balance it that way, but I make sure that I'm showing up almost every day so that I give myself the most opportunities to sell, and then I can see if I'm doing too much or not enough, right? So maybe I'll go live in my Facebook group and then I'll do an Instagram story. But then if I'm seeing that I'm not really getting traction on Instagram, but I'm seeing more in my Facebook group, I might do another live. So it kind of changes as the launch is progressing. Okay. But I would try to show up like once a day somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, that's useful.
Yeah.
All right, Sarah, I hope that answered your question. Hi, Addison. There's a question from Dean also.
Oh, Dean. Hi, Dean.
So would love to know Daria's thoughts on influencers and how to engage with them on social media.
Yeah, so if you have affiliates or influencers, that's the fastest way that you're going to grow. It opens you up to a new audience. So if you see someone that teaches or creates content around the topic that you are either providing the service or product for, it can be as simple as shooting a message, shooting a DM. Are you interested in working with me? I have this program that's coming out. You can be an affiliate. I'm giving you, I don't know, 30% or whatever you're offering as an affiliate for that. So it can be as simple as literally sending a message on the social media platform that you're on, or you can grab their email address. A lot of influencers will have their emails. I would just make sure that they are creating content around the topic or that their target audience is aligned with yours, or else it's not going to make sense. So if I'm launching a social media product, I'm not going to approach a lifestyle influencer because that's probably not going to be aligned. I'm not going to get anything out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that it's really important to engage with what they're already producing online,
Right.
Engage with them on social media. So
yes.
They start to notice you before.
You.
So it's not a cold pitch when you
right. That's an important point to bring up. Yeah, start warming up that influencer that you're going to chat with or trying to reach out to.
Mm-hmm.
But they're a great way to grow.
All right. Let me see. What other questions did I have? Yes. So based in your strategy, how do you find where your audience lives online so you know what social media platforms make the most sense to target?
That is a great question. So I like to dive into my audience the best that I can. So I go out of my way to find conversations. I will do a Twitter search for chats that are happening around social media or questions people may have, or even other communities. For example, I am a writer for Social Media Today, so I'll go to their Twitter account and see who's interacting with their stuff and kind of go on their account and scope out who else they follow, what kind of stuff they're interacting with, that they're tweeting with. So I take a look at what they're doing. It's a lot of research. It's tedious. So it's not the most fun sometimes, but the more you can dive into your target audience's life, everything, literally, what music they listen to, what magazines they're reading, what do they drive? Are they driving home? Are they a commuter? All these things sound really mundane and like they don't make sense, but it helps me to connect with them. So if I make a reference, for example, I had a post once for a launch where I referenced getting on the subway, but not knowing where I was going to end up, right? We were talking about reverse engineering a launch, and it was, you wouldn't really understand that unless you're a commuter, right? So I really pay attention to who I'm trying to reach and what their lifestyle is like and how I can connect with them.
Okay, that makes sense. We have another question. Oh, one thing. I also really like to look at publications that are aligned with my audience, that my audience is reading, and check out their social media. Where are they getting the most engagement? And, the most followers? Because then that's probably where my people are too.
Absolutely. That's such a good point to make. And then you can create content that kind of mirrors that as well, because if it's popular for them, then your people are probably also looking for that same information.
Yeah, publications and their media kits that tell like who their audience is, and
that's such a good hack, Sarah.
I do that a lot. I like to look at publications that my audience or my client's audience is with and grab their information, because they're always doing surveys.
Surveys are such a good point.
All right, question from Addison. What would you recommend for a one-person social media marketing team in trying to achieve a few campaigns at one time?
Organization and planning ahead. I mean, those are the two things that are going to save you. Plan ahead as much as you can. Try to get as much content done beforehand as you can so that you have that flexibility of if something pops up, like if I start to see something pop up, then I don't have to freak out because I haven't already created that thing that I wanted to create, but now I have to create this other thing, and I'm like all over the place. Plan. That is what saved me a headache over and over again.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with you. Planning is important, and scheduling. So you don't have to in real time.
Yes.
Especially when you're doing multiple campaigns.
Yeah, scheduling. And then making sure things actually go out, because I've scheduled and then have issues. So double check.
So I know Addison, and I'm pretty sure she is referring to campaigns for different like branches of the company she's working with. But if you are launching is there a concern about diluting the message if you're launching multiple campaigns at once for one brand?
For sure. And that I would put on a schedule. So I would work through one first and then launch the next, because people get confused. And if you're not clear on what you're selling, then your audience is not going to be clear. So I try not to like push too many things at once. And you can sell different things, right? Like, for example, I do one-on-one coaching, but I also have my group coaching program. So, and my agency, but I try not to talk about everything at once. Maybe I'll do one post that's like, here's how you can work with me. Here's all the different ways you can work with me. But if I'm really trying to push one service, I'll stick to that one service for, X amount of time, whatever that is, a month, a quarter, and try to just concentrate on one and then phase in the next thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. So like, to make it simple, we say that you have like 4 different things that you sell for your business. You could do a campaign and schedule it out quarterly. And then in between those campaign launches, you could do one of those, hey, to my new followers, and introduce everything that you do.
Exactly.
Like a little short series like that.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And that's probably going to be the clearest way to talk to your audience, because different products are usually for different people. So someone that wants one-on-one isn't the same as someone who just wants to like read an ebook or go through a video course. So you don't want to get those people confused.
Yeah, that makes sense. When you're working on a campaign launch, should you be doing paid along with organic social?
Yes. If you have the budget, absolutely. I think we see a lot of people have successful campaigns and we think it's all organic, but usually it's not. So if you have some budget to spend, I would definitely spend it on different, the different stages. So for example, if you have a freebie and that's how you get people into your list and into your world, spend money there and get a lot of leads in, because that's what you want. And then you can hit them organically once they're on your email list, but spend that money up front. Or if there's an organic post that's naturally doing well, that's a hint to you that you should probably put money behind it to amplify the reach of it.
Okay, so popular posts boost them.
Yes.
And any lead gen type posts to gather their email addresses, those should be advertised, pay them.
Those were, if I had when I have limited budget, that's where those are probably what's going to help you the most. And then of course you do want that one where you're selling, if you can retarget that towards people that have either visited the landing page or gone to your website, that's warmer than just like trying to hit cold traffic. So for those of us on limited budgets, that's the best way to kind of assess where to spend.
Literally everyone that follows me is on a limited budget.
Yes. I think that's for a lot of us. I work with a lot of small businesses, and I know we don't have the big budgets. That's fine. You don't need a huge budget. You just need to spend it the right way and make sure that, again, going back to knowing your audience and what they're reading and, where they are, that's how you can really target them and not waste money on just like a big pool of people.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if anyone has any additional questions, put them in the comments now. We'll see them here. But in the meantime, is there anything else that you want to tell the audience before you hop off?
Sure. I mean, thank you for having me, first of all. It was really exciting. It was fun to talk about launching. I feel like I haven't spoken about launching in a while. And there's so many different service providers out there. Also, if you want to connect with me, my handle is @DariLo on Twitter and on Instagram. I like hanging out on Twitter. So if you're on Twitter, hit me up. And
check mark too.
And if you have, if you need social media help, one-on-one consulting, I love working with clients one-on-one to get the most out of their campaigns. Sometimes it's, that help with accountability. Sometimes you just don't know where to start and you're overwhelmed, and I can help you kind of figure that out and get that stress out of it.
Yes, she is an all-star. Thank you
Thank you,
so
Sarah.
much for joining me. No other questions came in, so we'll hop off. It was good.
All right.
You.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
All right, let's wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining me today. And just a reminder, every single Friday, we're right here, 11 a.m. Central Time on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And before you go, if you enjoyed this show, you will want to do a couple of things. Sign up for our newsletter, where you will get first notice of our shows and jam-packed weekly newsletters that provide even more actionable tips. So go to sarahnoelblock.com/newsletter, which you can see in the little banner below. Click like and comment on this video so you can promote it in the feeds. It will get more eyes on here and we'll get a bigger audience, and I appreciate it. And subscribe or follow wherever you're watching this right now. And thank you. I'll see you next week, where we will be talking about simplifying marketing strategy. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.